And we are here on Beyond the Streams, the only place that you'll find Next Level's eyebrows. Look like The Rock. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Been having a pretty awesome time the last week. A lot of good stuff happening in the community, just full of positive energy and good people, So,
yeah. Wanted to
how you
ask you a
doing?
quick question. I know. Hold on. What is the biggest lie in the entire universe?
The biggest lie in the entire universe?
Mm-hmm. Think tech. The biggest
In tech?
lie in tech. Yeah, in tech. What's the biggest lie?
Man, that's such a bloated question because you could go from anywhere from conspiracies to everything. Like, did we really land on the moon? Did we really?
So think about this one.
Yeah.
The answer to it is I have read and agreed to the terms and conditions.
Oh, for real? Yeah. Yep. Forget taking law in school. You need to take I don't even terms and conditions. They need to have that as a course in school.
So I'm doing pretty good. I'm just, I had a good weekend and there's a lot of stuff working on him. Well, there's always stuff being worked on. But I wanted to do something a little bit different. And for everybody that's watching, and I'm pushing for this to be the first video. So if this is the first video that you're watching and the first audio that you're listening to, that means I won. So we have a good lineup coming up for you this month and next month. There's a lot of stuff that we're talking about. And I wanted to kick it off a little bit different. And Next Level has no clue what I'm talking about. So
which is typical. But hey.
Typical. So everybody's got a story. Everybody has a story of where they grew up, where they're from, how they got into the whole tech world. And it's interesting because a lot of people know our story as, well, I got this device and this is how I started streaming and this is how, but it goes further than that though.
Yeah, it does. For real.
It goes so much further than that. I would say the first time I ever got into tech, and I mean really into tech, I'll tell you this. I think this was my, hold on, my 13th birthday. And I remember I didn't get one single birthday present from anybody. Nothing. My whole family got together and they did like a cake at the end of the night and nothing. And this was my immediate family. Mind you, my birthday's May 10th, and within the Latin community or Hispanic community, whichever political way you're looking at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
May 10th is Mother's Day every year. In the United States, Mother's Day kind of floats around between May 8th and May 13th, I believe it is.
Yeah.
But in the Hispanic culture, it's May 10th, no matter what day it is. So I believe it so happened to be Mother's Day on that week. So on that weekend, on that day. So everybody forgot. Everybody literally forgot about my birthday. So
like seriously, like they weren't playing a joke on you or nothing?
No joke. They just forgot.
Damn.
I know. And then my grandmother, may she rest in peace, she just passed away a few months ago. She told everybody, I cannot believe nobody did anything for Rojas, or Esteban is how they call me.
Mm-hmm.
So we all got together. I didn't know what was happening. This is now, and actually this was in the middle of the week too now, like a couple days after my birthday. And the whole family got together and literally gave me money. And I mean a lot of money.
A lot of money for, how old are you?
13. My 13.
A lot of money for a 13-year-old, or just a lot of money in general?
A lot of money for a 13-year-old.
Okay, yeah.
This was I keep going back. Is this my 13th birthday or my 12th birthday? No, I'm pretty sure it was my third. No, it was my 13th birthday. I'm trying to think of my turn with my baby sister because I was 11 when she was born and she was 2. So
Mhm.
13. Um, put it this way. My first stepdad ended up getting that money and putting it towards a car. And I ended up getting a 1979 Datsun 1200.
Nice
Now,
car.
it
Datsun's are
is,
nice cars.
yeah. And if nobody knows what that is, just look it up. Datsun 1200 was the model.
Yeah.
When we got it, it was all grayed. It was nasty colored. It was just dirty. So he made me go out there and clean it. So once I cleaned it, it was white. And I mean white. We did some work on this car and did some insane amount of work, but that's a whole separate story. I also had enough money left over to buy a computer.
Damn.
That's what I'm saying. They done messed up, Aaron.
That's a lot of money for a 13. Like, I mean, a lot of money for a 13-year-old.
Yes. I had I ended up buying a compact Presario.
Yeah.
I still remember it. And I remember they said, okay, here you go. Here's your computer. Go ahead and do whatever you need to do. I put it together. I set up the programs and everything, and he put the discs in and the
Yeah.
floppy discs and
Disc one, disc
yeah,
two.
exactly. It was it was like a fat thing. So I'm just like, oh man. So I put it in there, and I remember my parents. They're like, hey, we're gonna go to the swap meet. Do you want to go? And I was like, no, I still got to do the computer thing. Okay. They took my sisters with them,
Mhm.
So of course, my stepdad, as he is, make sure you pick up the dog crap. Make sure you go sweep up the front. Make sure you wash the car. Make sure you throw out the trash. And I'm like, dude, by the time I'm done, they're gonna come back and I'm not even gonna play with the computer. So I ran so hard around the house to get it all
Mhm.
put together, to make sure everything's all clean and done and
Mhm.
whatever. I don't think I've ever done chores that fast in my life. So I turn on the computer and I'm just like, how the heck does this thing work? Now, my mom and my stepdad, my first stepdad, they used to work in doing circuit boards. And if you don't know what a circuit board is, it's just that those it's pretty much if anything that has to do with technology, those chips that and everything that you see inside. Um, it normally looks like a green thing with holes and it makes everything work. When you think of a motherboard, that's a circuit board. That whole thing is a circuit board. Everything has a circuit board of some sorts. If you're using technology, your phone or whatever you're listening to, your car, there's circuit boards everywhere. So that's what they did for a living. And I decided to take this computer apart piece by piece, down to the last bolt,
just cause.
just because I wanted to see how this thing worked. And I was like, I'm like, let me just go down to the last thing and look at everything because this doesn't like I cannot comprehend how something like this can make all of this work, the computers, the phones, pagers back in the day, like TVs. It just didn't make sense to me,
And you needed it to make sense.
Yeah. So as soon as I took the last bolt, who do you think shows up?
The fams.
Yep. And who do you think's grounded for the next month?
Yeah. They're like, what did you do to this computer after you spent all this money on it, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So I'm insanely lucky that he didn't step on it and throw it out. He said, you're going to figure this out and put it back together. And he's like, even if you figure it out, you're still grounded for a month.
Do I get the computer while I'm grounded?
So I think I spent, I don't know, it must have taken me like 30 minutes to take it apart. It probably took me like 6 hours to put it back together. And the only reason why I think it even took me that long was because I was studying every single little piece that was in it. I was looking at it. I really took my time putting it back together.
Hmm.
And I remembered all the steps taking it off, so I just did all the steps backwards.
Right.
Plugged it in, turned it on, fired right back on. And my mom just looks at me and she's just like, "Do you want to take a computer class?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll take a computer class." And then well, I call him my dad. My dad's like, "Well, you can take this computer class after you're grounded from the summer." And I was like, "What? What do you mean? That's 3 months. I don't want to be grounded for 3 months." Long story short, I had to bribe my way out of being grounded, so I did a lot of chores.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's literally my story when it came to technology.
Hmm. Am I supposed to step up now? It's my turn. I don't know. My story is kind of short, kind of similar. I remember there was a little computer shop that my family knew, and it's pretty funny. I still go there once in a while. I check in with the owner because my dad's and my family's been dealing with them for so long, right? So my dad went to them, and it was back when you had IBMs, I think they were called. Like everyone just called a computer an IBM, or you had a clone. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Where so my dad my dad decided to get a clone because they were cheaper. And I remember sitting down with him and going through all the parts for the clone that the guy was suggesting at the computer store. And I'm like, what is all this stuff? Okay, you have the RAM and the video card, the Voodoo One video card, and like going through all those parts and like just looking at it. And I'm like, okay. So after we got the computer, I think we had Windows 95 or 98 on it because we got it around 98. So I'm not sure if it had 98 right away or if we upgraded to 98. And the person who used the computer the most was me. So typically, if something went wrong, I had the time from when something went wrong with the computer until my dad got home to fix it. Or I was grounded, or I got, licks or something. I got beat. I'm like, whatever. So, after a little while of taking the computer to get fixed by this guy who the only thing he ever did was reinstall Windows. Every single time there was a software issue, you just reinstall Windows. I'm like, no, there's got to be another way. You can't just format everything. I lose all my data and then you just reinstall Windows. There's got to be another way. So then I started looking into like DOS commands and I started like learning about like little things. And then when things would happen with the computer, I would pop it open and look at it. I'm like, okay, so what's wrong? What's not spinning? You know what I mean? What's not working in here? And like, when I would take it to the computer shop, I would say, okay, what's wrong with it? I want to know. And then he would fix it. I'm like, okay, what did you do to fix it? Oh, your fan went bad, so we had to swap out a new fan. And I'm like, okay, so how much is the fan? Fan's only a few dollars, but you're charging me labor. What do I have to do to change a fan? You know what I mean? So over the years, it got to the point where I was fixing viruses and then I was cleaning up computers. I was doing data backups, and I was like the same age as you in your story. I was around like 11, 12, 13, and I had nothing better to do. Like, yeah, I had a couple friends I would go out, but I was kind of a nerd. So I just wanted to play with my computer. I would take stuff apart, I'd put it together. And a couple times, like the computers my dad would upgrade a computer. So my basement ended up being like a really old Pentium 1 scrapyard where I would have a couple different builds of Pentium 1s where I would take parts from different ones and I would fix up whatever. So I didn't have to take it to a computer place. And over the years, I always told myself, I was like, I always want to build a computer from scratch instead of this, oh, this broke, I have to fix it. Because I've never, like I told you the other day, Rojas, like, this computer that I just built that I'm using right now is the first computer I've ever built from scratch. Before this, I've done everything you can think of besides put thermal paste on a CPU. And for some reason, I was like, I don't know. What if I put too much? What if I put too little? Like liquid on electronics? Like, what am I doing? Like, I didn't really understand it, but I didn't do it. Like, I never bought the thermal paste to try it out. But I mean, I just was so fascinated how you could literally clip a couple components into a board and you could do anything you wanted with a computer once it booted.
Mhm.
Like that satisfaction of clipping in RAM and hearing it clip and snap into place. I was like, this is cool. So I've always been kind of really interested in what we can do with our technology. I mean, we started off with DOS, and then it was very limited, and then we moved from DOS to Windows, and then we started doing, a bunch of things with Windows. But then the mobile era came out, and it was like just as fast as computers were upgrading, they kind of plateaued for a bit. And then the era of the smartphone came into play, and that caught my attention. So I kind of backed away from computers, and I said, okay, I want to mess with these smartphones. So I started messing with smartphones, seeing what I could do with them, how far I could push them. I mean, I've fried motherboards on smartphones.
Mhm.
Just because I'm doing this and I want to see how far I can push these smartphones. I remember the first time they came out with LTE with 4G networks, and they gave me a month of free data. That was not a very good idea because I was actually working at the telecom provider, so they had the towers all around me, so I had really good reception. I
Yeah.
was running a Motorola phone or something, but basically while I was at work, I had to run the phone without the backplate on because I was overheating it. And within that month, I did over a terabyte of data. Because what I would do is I'm not going to tell you how exactly I got the data onto my phone, but I was
Mhm.
downloading a lot of data, and I would go home and I had a two two or three ter I had two terabyte external hard drives. So when I got home, I would just plug in my phone and transfer the data, right? Because back then the data bandwidth caps on your actual home internet was really low and really expensive, right?
Mhm.
We didn't have unlimited like we had now. But when they gave me the unlimited on my phone, I was like, I'm gonna test the limits on this. Are you really unlimited? Let's see what you got.
Now, roughly, how old are you when you were doing all that?
Oh man. Oh, it was before my son was born.
Early 20s?
Yeah, early 20s. Early 20s, yeah.
So we went from being in 10, 11, 12, 13 age to
Yeah.
early 20s. So that's fast forward. So you pretty much stuck in with technology then the whole time.
Well, the thing is, my life started pretty early. So, yeah, I got into, all that computer stuff when I was younger, and I messed around with a lot of them. But by the time I was 19, I was living on my own. By the time I was 20, I found out I was having my son. And by the time I was 21, that's when I got my first house. I got married and had my son. So then it took me a few years to get back on my feet and start playing with technology again, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I tried to stick with technology as much as I could. I did play around with computers and actually for during that time, I actually was messing a lot with Xbox. I was
Mm-hmm.
having a lot of fun with Xbox,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't doing. How do I say it? I was having fun. I wasn't learning what I should have been learning,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. I don't know how it would be different if I kept the same mentality where I was playing with tech during that time, if I even had the time. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know. I'm just happy I made my way back. That's all I can say, man. It's been a blast.
Now, during those years for me, I've always been a musician,
hmm
and I've also been in some sort of form, way, whatever shape, whatever the term is, uh,
hmm
in the military. Um, some kind of form of discipline. So I know I did like martial arts when I was really young, and when I was really young, also I got into music, and I got into the Navy League Cadet program or like the Young Marines. It's not a ROTC. It's something a lot more than ROTC. And I was also doing music. I did the whole marching band thing, the drumline thing, and right out of high school, I went to the Marine Corps, and I was still drumming. And then I got into the Marines, into the military, and I was just doing my thing, writing music and stuff like that in the military, and doing special forces and just a lot of stuff with the military. Um, can't really go too much into detail with the military, but we'll just leave it at that. But when I got out, I was now in my mid to late 20s, and I was teaching drum lines throughout my entire years of 20s
Mm-hmm.
and into my 30s, well into my 30s. I want to say I was doing music for about 12 years,
Mm-hmm.
but I was writing music within programs. So I would use like there's like all these different softwares within the computer. So I was constantly using a computer, how to do this, how to do that. And I got to the point where I recorded sound effects, and I would put those sound effects within these programs to make it sound more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually these software programs had their own built-in sounds to sound more realistic. So I stopped doing what I was doing and used what they were doing.
Yeah.
Um, so it was pretty cool doing that for so many years. And I guess it's kind of like where the story begins when it comes to like YouTube. Like how did I land here? How did I land into YouTube? How did I land into streaming? And I think everybody starts with something similar. Like I had a Fire Stick, I had my cell phone, I had some kind of cheap box that somebody gave me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I did the whole YouTube thing, I was like, I just want to help the people that have been asking me directly. And my circle was super small,
Mm-hmm.
very, very small. So it was just kind of like, I'm here working at the hospital doing data and reporting, analytics, analysis, building, developing backend SQL, which is
Mm-hmm.
database language. And I was building their entire infrastructure. And when I started looking into this stuff, third-party apps, streaming, cut the cord, as they call it,
Yeah.
uh, I got very, very heavy into the whole YouTube thing, and people were asking questions. I did the video, I gave it to them, and it just kind of like went from there.
Yeah.
Thought it was pretty amazing how I was working so much at this job, and then I stopped. They did a lot of cuts, and then YouTube took off, and I would use a lot of my, I guess, my technical expertise that I've had within the hospitals, within the military, within the music, with that 13-year-old version of me,
Yeah.
and said, what can we really do now? Where is the envelope? Where do I want to leave the envelope?
You know what? As you were talking, I was like, hold on a second. I didn't really drop that passion at all. I just applied it in different ways, the same way you did.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of, you go through the levels of maturing that you have to do. You end up in situations, and that 12, 13-year-old you is like, I can help. I can help. I could do it. We can do it. Let's do it. So I end up in the financial institution, and I was creating campaigns, and because I was pretty fluent with computers, it was easy to pull data, extract data, create campaigns, to where I moved up in companies pretty quickly into supervisor positions. And then finally they shipped me downtown Toronto, where I was in an investigations department, and I was doing investigations online. So now I was applying everything I knew about how to pull information online and creating seminars and teaching people how to use the internet to do investigations better in the financial industry. So I thought that was pretty cool. When I left there, one of my later careers was actually in the automotive industry. I actually created a call center for 3 car dealerships.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so cool that what their software was pretty much DOS based, right? It looked like QBasic to me. So when I started working on it, you could write programs inside it, and you could pull specific forms of data. So I would sit there at my desk, and I would just be writing programs and I'm like, okay, what kind of call list can I pull, and how can I write this program? And I would just be sitting there having fun, just writing these programs. And then I would print out the list and give it to my employees. And then I would be like, okay, what campaign do I want to work on next? How do I write this program? Let's go. And it was fun doing stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I would go around and I would teach people how to use the software. Didn't matter what company I worked for, software I always liked using. I always wanted to see everything I can do with software. I mean, I even worked with a logistics company where it was actually the logistics company for Walmart, and they had a scanning gun and they had a computer. So when you were inside the truck and you were unloading it, you could scan the item and then your computer would print the label, but you would have to go out to the computer and hit a button and it would print the label. So eventually I'm like, the gun and the computer is running the same software. Why can't I just run the same computer commands from the gun and just tell it what to do instead of me having to run back and forth from the computer? Turned out it was just function keys. So I just had to learn all the function keys. And I was just punching away inside the truck as I went, and I would come out and it would save me so much time. And I think it's always been my passion to kind of push that envelope, like you were saying, in regards to tech. So it's always that curious mind. What can we do with this? Because it's never black and white. It's never, okay, this is a calculator. You can only do addition. You know what I mean? These are all programs and they're meant to be used in so many different ways. So after working for a bunch of people and not liking it,
I think that's a lot of us.
a lot of us, right? So I kind of went through a couple different transitions of different businesses that I had started up from, actual call center businesses. And then I went into marketing businesses that I had started up. And then I went into a dog business. So I was running a doggy daycare and a dog treat company. It's actually still there, but my ex-wife is running that now. We were home a lot, right, with the dogs, watching the dogs, playing with the dogs. And my son's mother used to watch a lot of TV shows and movies on her phone. We weren't really big TV people unless it was like football season, because his mom's big on football. She had to watch her football. So she would only have cable in the house while football was on. Once football was off, we cut cable and we didn't really care about it. She just streamed whatever she wanted to watch on her phone and that was it. So she came to me one day and she was like, Showbox isn't working. Can you fix it? And I'm like, okay, I'll take a look at it. So after doing some research, I realized that the issue that Showbox was having at that time was actually a geo-blocking restriction for anybody that was outside of the US and the UK. And I thought to myself, after doing all this research, most of the content creators are from where? In the community. They're from the US and the UK.
US, UK, yeah.
So I was like, maybe I should just make a video and just show people, because I see a lot of questions, right? And some of the videos I would go when people were asking the questions, they didn't know how to answer them because the content creators are in the US and the UK and the people asking the questions weren't. So I'm like, okay, I'll just make a video and I'll just put it out there. So I dropped a video and it was my very first streaming video. And I watched it. 1,000 views, 10,000 views, 50,000 views. I'm like, is this what being a YouTuber is like? Like, do I just drop videos and I get 100,000 views in like a week or two?
Nice.
And I was like, okay, I'll drop another one. So I dropped another one. Same thing kind of happened. It didn't have the same kind of, takeoff, but I didn't have an Android box. I was recording off-screen recording softwares on my phone. And I dropped a bunch of videos. They got anywhere between, 50 to 300,000 views. And I had this really diluted idea of what a YouTuber was, and that I was always going to get these crazy amount of views on every video I dropped, right? Yeah. It was crazy. It was such a rush because you don't expect all those views. Like I remember months when I first started that I got 5,000 subscribers, brand new subscribers in a month. And I was like, people want to see this. Apparently they like what I'm doing. I'll just keep doing it. So I just, I stuck with it. I've kind of taken breaks here and there, but I kind of fell in love with the community. It wasn't with YouTube. YouTube brought me to the community, but YouTube was not the reason I stayed at all. It was the people, it was the community, and it was being able to help people and kind of clear away that frustration that I went through that I could solve and help people with. That's what kept me here.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's something interesting, and And okay, I'll go first with this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure people are wondering, like, how the heck did Next Level and Rojas started doing all this nonsense?
That's funny.
So the first time I saw you with your channel, I remember it was file linked,
Mm-hmm.
and I was anti filing to the 10th level. Uh, I'm just like, how in the world do I want to download an app to get a
Mm-hmm.
code, to get a pin, to download another app?
Mm-hmm.
Why? It doesn't make sense to me. I'm like,
The
why
the
can't I just?
greatest part about that though, Rojas, is we would end up on panels together. But we were, even though you were so anti what I was doing at the time, we were always super respectful of each other.
Absolutely. So it was very. We were cool with each other, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I kept looking. I'm just like, you know what? The best store with no code, no
I
pin.
remember those videos.
Go to my website. Here's all those APKs you guys are looking for. You don't have to download an app to a pin to a code to a. No, just go to this site, download it. You're good. Leave me alone. And I remember I reached out to you a few times, and I was
For
like,
apps.
hey, I'm trying to get these apps, and I know you mod some of them and you do some stuff, and can I get some of these apps? And you're just like, yeah, here, you could do it like this, you could do it like this. I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't want to download file link. I know you have those apps on your hard drive. Just forward them over. And I'm just like, dude, he's gonna make me do work. Hell no. So I was like, I remember saying, like, no, 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 no. I don't have file link, and I don't want to get the USB and go to the box. And I'm like, can you just email me? And I remember you shot me an email with a couple of them, and then some of them worked and some of them didn't. And I'm like, this jerk. he
Well,
gave
because things update all the time, right?
he gave me some that didn't work. Can't believe he did that. So then I was just like, I remember we talked a little bit, we went back and forth, and I remember bugging you pretty hard too. I remember I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna get these freaking apps and I'm gonna put them on here, and I don't care. And I think I just finally gave up. I got the ones that I could. I think I also went to um what's it called? APK Pure
Yeah.
or Pure APK, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, cool, I can find them here too. All right, screw you, Next Level. I'm just gonna get them from here.
Well, I also gave you access to my Dropbox for a little bit too, didn't I?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
you're gonna drop them there, so I was just like, okay, cool. So I remember when we first talked, I was like, all right, cool. He's doing this filing thing too, and jumping the bandwagon like everybody else, whatever. I'm doing my thing. And then it came to the point for me where I'm like, I remember I was fighting with the server host. They're saying,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, you're not allowed to do this. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
where in the terms and conditions does it say I'm not allowed to do it? It says
And
I
that's
could,
hosting APKs, right?
right.
Yep.
And they said, well, you're not supposed to, like, we don't have the speed for the download, and you only have so much per month, and blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah. And I'm like, that's fine. I'll pay for the unlimited. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So then they pretty much said if I upgraded, I would be good.
Mm-hmm.
I upgraded, and then a few months later, they shut it off and said, hey,
Yep.
this stuff is illegal. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We can go there if we want. So I had this huge back and forth, and I got them to turn it back on.
Mm-hmm.
And because of me, they had to revise some things on their terms and conditions.
Mm-hmm. Good job.
Yeah. So if anybody has Hostinger, or if anybody has oh man, what's the other one called? You're gonna make me look it up. Host Blast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a story about Hostinger too, but we'll leave that for another day. They basically told me I can't run an FTP off their server, and they lied to me because they didn't want to show me how to do it. So, but I figured it out.
Yeah. So I remember that was the last time, like before we actually got to do this, because I think it was maybe a year later.
It was a while. Like we didn't talk to each other for a long time.
Yeah, and it wasn't any disrespect or nothing.
No,
It was just you were doing your thing, I was doing my thing, and that was it. But for me, that was my first impression when I got to you.
but let me ask you a question though, Rojas.
Go for it.
Why did you choose to ask me for APKs and not anybody else? Because there was a lot of people with filing stores.
So I asked several people about the filing stores. Now you want me to spill the beans?
Yeah, spill the beans. Let's go.
So I pissed off a lot of people.
Okay.
Can I get those apps? Why don't they told me the same thing you said? Why don't you download the file, put it into your device, put in the USB port, move the file in there, use ES File Explorer. I didn't like ES File Explorer either back in the day.
It's not my favorite, no.
And I was just like, how hard it is for you to go. I'm like, it's on your computer. How hard it is.
I
Is
didn't
it?
own a computer then.
So see now this was my thinking. I'm thinking like you got to do this stuff on your computer. If you're gonna mod stuff, if you're gonna do all this stuff, you need. Remember, I was coming from the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
so I had like 12 screens to look at.
Mm-hmm.
There was a giant warehouse full of servers. Like if you would have seen my desk, I had. It was literally like 280. You can go 280
280
all the way
degrees.
up.
Yeah.
Screens, and not just one level. It was also above
Mm-hmm.
and above that.
Mm-hmm.
It was nuts. And in my mind, I was thinking like, okay, if you're doing modifications to this, if
Mm-hmm.
you're doing some work, if you're doing some Java, some whatever script, or whatever, I don't know, Python, whatever the codes are, whichever code you're doing it,
Yeah.
you have to have some sort of computer because I would go nuts if I did this on any other type of device. There's no, and then I couldn't, in my mind, I couldn't put it together that somebody could do this on their phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would, and I remember somebody told me this. Oh man, I don't even remember. It's a filing store that doesn't exist anymore, but they're a big one. They were a big one. I remember he said I was so, well, he called me dumb pretty much. He says you're so dumb if you think that this stuff cannot be on a cell phone. They cannot be done on a cell phone.
Right.
So then I called him dumb for not being able to buy a computer and doing it like the big boys do it. And it was pretty much a, I don't know what's the term, whose cock size is bigger.
Yeah. It was just
It was a very machismo. my, my chest is puffed out.
yeah. Yeah.
So I
Man.
asked several people, and I think it was you and oh my gosh, I cannot remember his name. Oh, he did the CM. What is that build called? He was with the Fire Hacks. I think it is
Oh,
FireTV.tips.
yeah, I know who you're talking about. Oh, I haven't talked to him in years, man. Holy
Yeah,
crap.
and he was the one that hooked me up with some of the third-party apps. Oh my gosh,
What is his name?
Stapleton, David. I don't
Fire
know.
TV.
It's gonna bug me, but I remember. I think he also did like the CM Pulse build. That's what it was called, CM Pulse. But he also did a lot of apps, a lot of APKs. So he was cool. He
Mm-hmm.
was actually the one that made the symbol build.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't even ask him. He just said, "Hey, do you want your build that has an APK?" I was like, "Yeah. How much?" He's like, "How much?" He's like, "No, don't worry about it. Give me about like 2 minutes." I'm like, 2 minutes? I'm like, dude. So in my mind, again, I'm thinking like, how? you
Mm-hmm.
know? So every now and then I talk to him. It's been a hot minute. It's usually I'll see him on PlayStation. Like, hey, you want to play Gran Turismo?
Mm-hmm.
I already know he's gonna kick my ass as soon as we start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, so you two were the ones that I was working with, and then I just pretty much gave up on the APKs. I'm just like, man, because so many filing stores came out.
Mm-hmm.
So then I pretty much gave up my quest.
See, there was a difference between my filing store and a lot of people's in the beginning. And that was because a lot of releases were released first in my filing store before they went anywhere else. And I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying that's how it was for a long time. When I first joined the community, I found home with Falinked. I actually got introduced with the developers of the APK. And then I started becoming an admin for their social media groups. And then I started teaching people about Falinked. And then obviously, if I'm teaching people about it, then my store had to be a certain level that I wanted it to be, right? Which is kind of a joke because my name wasn't originally nxtlvltech. It was changed after I hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, I think. But I was just really passionate because I was helping a lot of people. A lot of people had filing stores, and a lot of people were using filing to help other people or their own communities or whatever it is, right? So it was just an interesting concept of everybody trying to help their own little community, and I think that's why I kind of stuck with it. And it was a, how do I say it? It was like a game because it was always like, who's going to get access to this application first, and who's going to find a modified version first. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of people really liked. I made a video in the very beginning where I used an APK cloner to clone the FileLink application, so you could actually have like 4 different FileLink apps, and it would all be preset to its own store. So if you wanted to open, my store, you would just click on my icon that would say like nxtlvltech or something, or you can click on somebody else's icon and it would open their store instead of having to type in different numbers to go into different stores. So that's when other YouTubers started looking at it and be like, this is a really different concept. And that's when I started jumping onto other YouTube YouTube panels and getting introduced to other YouTubers. And it was just interesting. It was just so much fun. It was so different. And you're always learning something. You're always trying to jump through a new hoop, and you're always reinventing the wheel with this community. I mean, stuff's going to go down and stuff's going to come back. It's just, you just got to be ready for it.
Mhm. Now, when, like, I guess so, I gave my first impression and how we were introduced and how we worked. Now flip it for you. Now I know you got to think about it a little bit.
Man. So how do I say this? I seen you around a lot longer before I actually came on the scene, right? And I always try to be patient and humble because I say it, right? I try to be. And it was just, I liked a lot of the stuff that you brought to the community. And I'll be very honest with you, Rojas. There was some times where you were on a panel and I was like, do I want to jump on this panel? Because I don't want to butt heads with Rojas. I would honestly say that to myself before I jumped on a panel because I knew where you stood on FileLinked, right? And I didn't want to have any issues with you. And I said, that's cool. There's so many different ways to do things. I get it, but I don't want to argue with anybody. Mm-hmm. And then like eventually I was like, you know what? I'm just going to jump on the panel. If people want to talk to me, they can talk to me. I mean, if Rojas wants to ask me questions, then that's cool. And we can like go back and forth, but I'm not here to argue with nobody. And I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. Like I was brand new to the streaming community when all that stuff was going on. When FileLink was new, that's when I joined the scene pretty much. And you were a part of the community a lot longer, and a lot of these other people were. So I was just around to really soak up what was around me. You know what I mean? Like you look at all these other YouTubers, like New Tech Evolution was one of the first ones that really had a conversation with me because he was pretty big in the filing stuff as well. I started talking to Electrical MD, and a lot of people don't know, but I used to send Electrical MD his APKs for his filing store in the beginning. And that's how I went around. I would actually go around. I would actually, look at people's filing stores, send them updates, communicate with all these big YouTubers, behind the scenes, and I would give them releases before they came out anywhere else, just to get my name out there. I'm like, hey, I got this. Do you want
Mhm.
it? Sometimes they would shout me out, sometimes they wouldn't, but I just was trying to feel out the community and see what it was all about. Um, you did a lot of work with Special K or Jody or whatever you want to call it. And I
Mhm.
didn't really understand that stuff a whole lot. And when I joined the community, it was kind of in that transition where a lot of good APKs were just coming out or coming to their plateau. Like Terrarium was really plateauing at that time when I joined the community, right? There was probably a good 6 months before it shut down. And that's where the application looks like, you know, what Cyberflix looks like what Typhoon looks like. It really came into that next generation of APKs. Because
Mhm.
if you look at the really good APKs before Terrarium, you're looking at what I call the Cartoon HD family, right? You're looking at what do you call it? Me, no, movie box. There's like 5 of them that run off all of the same servers as Cartoon HD, but they look a little bit different, but they work really good. But at the same time, they didn't have that flair of a user interface like Terrarium did.
Mhm.
So I was like, do I want to start learning Cody or do I want to take a look at these APKs? And they kind of caught my attention and I ran with them. And then I started, you know, tinkering with the coding and APK editors and like all kinds of stuff. And it was just like, it took me back to when I started learning like QBasic as a kid, right? Because
Mhm.
all the code, like the theory behind all the code, it's all the same. And we didn't really have too many interactions to really say, I don't like this guy or I like this guy.
Mhm.
All I knew is you were passionate about what you were doing. And
Mhm.
I respected that. You know what I mean? I saw your videos. I would see your videos coming out all the time. And no matter what, you've always been consistent on your platforms. At least for me, I wasn't releasing videos like you were. I never was. Even when, you know, even when I did release 5 or 10 videos in a month at one point, it wasn't consistent. And your name was always coming up. No matter which YouTube channel I was watching at the time, there was Rojas.
Mhm.
And it was cool to always see you around. And I didn't really see any drama. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what pulls me in which direction I'm going. I never really wanted to be in any drama and I didn't want to deal with any drama. I was in it for the tech. I was in it for the game. Like I was in it to learn. And once I started seeing drama, I was like, I'm busy over here. But I really thought it was cool when people like yourself would reach out to me and they would ask me questions like that. And it was like, hey, I actually have something people want.
Mhm.
um, how did we get to modern day Rojas? It's so strange because when I think about it, it's like to me, it's like something that just happened.
Yeah, I know. I want to say I might have had a live show, and I think you were in the chat, and I forget what show it was. It wasn't. It was this year. It happened this year.
Yeah, for sure. It was probably about a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Yeah, and I think I want to say it was a live show. I was talking about something, and then I invited you on, and then we started talking, going back and forth. Um, and you know what? I'm trying to think. I Trust might have been so. There's another YouTuber for you guys who don't know called I Trust Streams, and he's in the same stuff that he does with us, with tech related and
Mhm.
streaming related. But I don't remember if I Trust was there before you were, and then you popped in, or if you were there and then he popped in. But
You know, I kind of feel like something happened, and then behind the scenes, before your next live show, I Trust was talking to you about jumping on another one of your live shows, and he said, "Hey, I'll grab Next Level Tech."
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
And then we organized it so that we were all on a live show. You know what? We missed a live show or two where you guys reached out to me to see if I could join a live show. I like this. I vaguely remember this where I
Yeah.
was like, dude, these guys are inviting me on a live show and I missed it. Damn, I'm not even home.
Yeah, I think I remember that. We were I forget what I was doing something, and then iTrust was there, and then said that you would be a good guy to bring in and talk about I forget what the topic was. But then yeah, I remember you weren't home. You're like, "Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
around right now." And I was like, "This guy."
But you told me like half an hour before the show started too.
But I remember once we finally planned it, it's been nonstop ever since.
It's been nonstop. It's been a lot of fun. Now you got me wanting to go back to the very first live show we did and take a look
Yeah.
to see how we started and where we are now, because a lot of people don't know, but we've learned a lot about how each other works and how we work well with each other. There's little cues that we give each other where it keeps us very fluid now. And it's things that we've had to learn as we work with each other. It's been interesting because this whole YouTube ride, it's been solo for me. And I can pretty much tell, I mean, Rojas has been solo too. So to work with somebody else creating content is such a new experience. And we've had a blast doing it. Like some of these videos that we worked on, we sit back and after we were like, that was a good video. Like
Mhm.
some of these live streams were like, that was a good live stream. Like you feel it.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool how, like you said, like where we've been and where we're going with it. Because it's there's always an end game for something. There's always like
A
what
lifespan
goal, yeah, and it's kind of like we're just starting,
to scratch the surface.
barely, barely, and who knows how this is gonna be a year from now.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, who knows where the platforms are gonna be? Who knows who's gonna be on here with us? Um, it's crazy when you think about like how this could really take off. You know?
Yeah. Especially all the stuff that we've learned recently. For instance, I mean, by the time people are watching this, you would have seen some of our live streams where we're streaming on a couple different platforms at the same time.
Mhm,
But we're also we're also able at this point, we're working out bugs, but we can stream on multiple YouTube channels at the same time. It's a little buggy, but it works.
mhm,
So when we talk about who we can get involved, there's the who, there's the how, there's the what. Like there's so many things that we have working on in the background. It's so exciting when we can have an idea and we just run with it.
mm.
Like we're like, yeah, we can do this. Let's go. Monday morning, let's go. Next level tech, wake up. I'm like, man, I just went to sleep.
I get up early.
Oh man, it's been such a blast. Honestly though, like I can't say it enough though. Like if I didn't be patient and try to stay humble, I wouldn't be in the place where I am, right? If I didn't take care of my people, take care of myself, like you always say, Ross, I wouldn't be where I'm at. Like this last year was a big push for me to take care of myself and to really build myself. And now, because I was able to deal with certain situations that was happening in my life over the last year and a half, I'm able to come back to what I'm passionate about and build something that's interesting not only for me but for everybody in the community.
Mhm,
And it's something that they're telling me. It's not something like, oh, I'm going to put this out there and they're going to like it. No, they're like, next level. When is your next video coming out? When's the next live stream? Like, when are you going to do this? What's like, when is this coming out? It's so crazy when the community is like begging for content from you and you're like, okay, I'm trying, guys. I'm trying.
so we hope you guys have enjoyed the story here. I know Next Level had no idea what the topic was. It was literally like, "Hey, turn on the camera, hit record, shut up." So, we do have a very good lineup of stuff coming this month, next month. I know we've been going back and forth with 2 shows, 3 shows. I think we've agreed to 2 shows just so that way we don't outdo it. Now, and who knows, maybe later we might go to 3 episodes a week, but for now we're at 2. But we have a lot of stuff that we're constantly sharing, constantly wanting
It's
to
nuts.
explore. So yeah, it's nuts.
It is. It's like at first we're like, how do we come up with 2 shows a week? What are we going to talk about? And then you start brainstorming, and next thing you know, you have content for the next 3 months, and you're like, okay.
Yeah. So I hope you guys have all enjoyed this one. Stay tuned for our next episode. And yeah, we got some good stuff coming. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys are following. Make sure whatever platform you are listening to or watching us, you leave us a comment, whatever it is. And we always got our eyes and ears are always peeled to what's happening out there within the tech world, within the streaming world. Um, yeah.
I'm going to ask them to leave a comment on how they first found each of us, wherever it was, however they found us, whatever they were searching for at the time. Leave a comment on how you found either Rojas or myself or both of us. Just let us know what we did so that we jumped in front of you at that moment and what you were looking for, and what your impressions were then, and maybe what your impressions are now of us. I think we've kind of gone back and forth, and we've done that with each other, but it's kind of cool to get that from you guys and your perspective.
There you go. So wherever you're watching it from, if you have the ability to comment and put your story. So yeah, with that being said, you guys, you take care of each other.
Be patient and stay humble.
And we'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Peace.